Welcome everybody to our Beyond Town Hall. Here we're talking about our SEO conversation today. As I mentioned before, running a practice is not easy. There's a lot of things that take place operationally when it comes to patient enrollment, following best practices operationally and clinically. But sometimes some of the biggest components of how successful a practice can be dive into what the marketing can do. And we're going to talk about those three magic letters, SEO. So we're here today to talk about how to navigate the landscape of SEO, what SEO means in terms of marketing TMS and psychedelic treatment centers, and kind of understand the brass tacks idea of what SEO means and how to optimize it for our benefit. And we have our very own, Beyond Marketing's very own, SEO expert, Mr. Damien Schmidt, here with us today. So thank you, Damien, for being here. We're happy to have you. How are you doing today?
Awesome so far. Getting ready to jump into it today. This could be a lot of exciting information to go over. Not too intense as SEO can be for some folks, but yeah, let's do this today.
Let's do it. I'm excited. It's the big elephant in the room. Everyone's like, SEO, we want to get our SEO efforts ramped up. What does that really mean? Right? So we're going to talk about it today. I'm excited.
Yep.
So let's do this. Thank you, Damien. The floor is yours, my friend.
You got it. All righty, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And for today's call, it's maximizing your SEO strategy for psychedelics and TMS. It's going to be a comprehensive guide to optimize your online presence and attract more patients with effective SEO strategies for the mental health providers. With that said, we shall start. SEO, just to give you a little bit of an overview, SEO is going to be transforming the mental health marketing with attracting patients pretty much through organic. And that's what I'm going to jump into within this actual webinar. And with that said, we're going to have a few objectives here, with that being keywords, Google My Business, posts, also along with some other tidbits for SEO for content related. So let's go. Understanding SEO. What is SEO? Search engine optimization is the art and science of enhancing website visibility and ranking search engine results, which is crucial for attracting a target audience. Why is this important for your practice? It's important for mental health providers, for mental health services. Effective SEO strategies are the key for reaching individuals in need of support, and often during crucial times. Why is SEO important? Because for organic, and if any of the clinics are go ahead and looking for you online, one of the first places they're going to be looking at is either their Google Maps, doing a search in Google. So this is why SEO is extremely important. With that said, how long does SEO take? If anyone would like to jump in and answer one of these questions here, just have a little participation. It's definitely an interesting one because honestly, Google likes to give it to us in the aspect of algorithms. So I'll give you a brief moment here just to put some answers into the chat if you want to go ahead and participate.
Yeah, and if you feel free to provide the answer in the chat box. But Damon, I'm going to jump in here for a moment. When you're talking about how long does SEO take, obviously this question is very nuanced, but going back to the basics of SEO, would you say that what SEO used to be, say 20 years ago or 15 years ago, and today, well, obviously the landscape has changed, but has it become something more difficult to do, or has it become something that's more easier to do?
Well, just to give you a little bit of a background, I've been in SEO now for 26 years, and that was in the start of Google, which is in 1998. So with that said, I've been able to really watch the evolution of SEO in all aspects.
Yeah, the needle move, literally.
Oh, yes. And honestly, this year was one of the biggest years for SEO, meaning with all of these Google algorithm updates, there's literally reports out there that 3% of some websites are literally getting taken off of search. So now it's extremely important to have SEO. And it's actually extremely hard too now with AI. A lot of
Mm.
folks think it's easier with AI to have this for SEO. However, it makes things complicated because Google knows if you're using AI for content.
Wow, interesting. Okay. All right. Well,
So
I appreciate you answering that question. So yeah, let's get to this question.
you got it. So how long does SEO take? Several weeks to months.
I was thinking
With
forever.
that,
Remember?
it could take forever. With that said, it really does take several weeks to months because there's so many factors. The best way to think of SEO is like a car inspection, old school. You have 100 points on that car inspection when compared to your website. Your website has 100 of those points, just like Google looks at. And it's what gets you up there really within the rankings and keeps it going. With that said, that is what makes SEO very hard. So what we're going to do here is go ahead, go over the key principles of effective SEO for the mental health providers. Understand the fundamental principles of effective SEO to enhance your online presence. Learn how to optimize your website and content for improved search engine rankings, and discover strategies for keyword research and target relevant search terms. With that said, all of this is used to maximize the visibility of your mental health practice, and local SEO tactics are to be used. Now, with that said, I broke this up into a hierarchy of 3 parts, meaning on page, off page, and technical SEO. And then in reverse order, it's the understanding the basics of SEO as well. I'm not going to try and get too technical here. As I said, I'm been in SEO for so long, so sometimes I like to go into the nitty gritty of it. But for the sake of this actual webinar, I'm going to go ahead and keep it minimal. On-page optimization. Enhance relevance on-page SEO, Google Eat. Why are these factors? Because when you're crafting content for search engines and users and using the hierarchy of the headings, the structure of the content on down to H1, H2, and H3 tags, and using the principles of Google Eat, which is expertise, experience, authority, and trust, this all builds into that point of the, let's just say 100 points of that car inspection. So the first part that Google really looks at is your on-page optimization.
Well,
Then,
Damon, quick question. If we can go back to that
sure thing.
last slide for a second, because, and for all of you guys listening, I'm, former clinic owner, a medical director here at Beyond Marketing, but as a clinic owner in the past, these are things that I've always been curious about and have questions about. So are you saying the hierarchy of headings, the structuring of the content, when you say H1, H2, and H3, are you talking literally about the primary title of how your website ranks and the tertiary and secondary and tertiary titles, how you structure them? What do you mean by that in terms of hierarchy?
Sure. So each one, the H1, H2, and H3 tag, depending on how they're actually lined up for your keywords or key phrases, makes a difference because Google looks at the H1 tag first, the
Okay.
H2 tag second, and the H3 tag third on down to H6. So with that
Okay.
correct architecture, and optimized properly, you can really get a lot of link juice, i.e., organic traffic if that's set up properly.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And then as far as demonstrating the EAT process, that from the structural content of the headings, or is that just something separate that Google does?
Sure, it's actually more of a concept that's used overall for
Okay.
domain authority. And when this applies, basically what it does is it gives your website ultimately the best ranking it can get. And what I will do at the end of this webinar is go ahead and demonstrate a few
Ah,
websites which actually go ahead and represent all of these qualities for ranking as well.
awesome. Thank you for explaining that. I appreciate that.
Sure thing. And off-page and technical SEO. This
Mm.
tends to be one of the biggest elephants within the SEO efforts out there. The reason why is because, well, link building. It's it is a currency of SEO. However, there's a lot of bad and good link building out there, and that's why you have to leave this with professionals, because those links can make or break your website, literally.
Mm.
Social signals, why this is important. Google goes ahead and all the other search engines see when you put that social post out there and literally connects to everything with your keywords online. And that goes back to that EAT principle of uh, expertise and trust authority, because as it all connects, the social signals, the search engines see, and it goes full forward with that car inspection once again. And all together with that, local SEO and dominating the local search results. That's Google Maps, on down to your Google My Business profile as well. And then to tailor all that together, it's the technical SEO. For that, your website speed. You have to have a quick website in order for those bots to crawl your website and digest all the content, the technical information underneath the hood, the mobile friendliness. Nowadays, most folks are on their webs on our websites, whether it be through a tablet or desktop. For the most part, most of those users are coming through mobile, so we want to make sure that that's effective. And security. We want to make sure that folks have a secure website, because as users go ahead and visit that, we don't want to go ahead and pass over any malware or anything like that to users. And this is also a ranking factor in Google too, because if your website is not trusted, Google goes ahead and sees this. And your website can actually possibly get banned if you have a lot of malware on it. And then down to it, the site architecture, um, which is a really good one, because if your site isn't put together, then Google actually see this. Karen, you have a question?
Yeah. So when you say if your site isn't trusted, what do you mean by that?
Sure thing. So a lot of sites, when you actually see this little lock on here, which is that SSL certificate, um, which basically means that your website is secure online. So
Hmm.
if your website isn't secure online and Google sees this, it's leaving your users open possibly for malware, for your website to get hacked. So if you
Hmm.
have this, Google actually gives you better ranking as well, because it's part of that 100-point car inspection deal of, hey, they're secure. Let's give them ranking also because of this.
Gotcha. 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 Okay. Thank you.
You got it. SEO challenges in mental health. So right now, there's a lot of unique challenges going on, especially with all of these algorithm updates that happen within the March and April months. From what's out there, it's been as far between as 20 to 40 different updates that went ahead and went past. So it's really on fire these past months. Mental health marketing faces stringent regulatory environments, privacy concerns, and the more need for sensitivity in content. With that said, with these algorithm updates, you have to really be careful with some of your wording, as Google is kind of hit or miss with how they're ranking depending on what type of keywords you use. Um, Regulatory considerations. You want to make sure that your website and the folks on your team are HIPAA compliant. This is really important now for security efforts. Also, because it goes back to how your clients are, that your intake process is, but also HIPAA relates to how your website is also secure as well. If your website's not secure, nor is your clients that could be filling out their information. And then the biggest one is the impact of the SEO strategy. Now, because again, with all these algorithm and legal concerns with keyword updates and all of the different types of prescriptions that are out there, Google really goes ahead and makes it a lot harder to have an effective marketing strategy, let alone for SEO, because of these SEO efforts now are really uh, scrupulous within the terms of you have to make sure that you dot your I's and cross your T's, and make Google happy on the same side. So it's really important now.
Hmm.
With that said, keyword research and your Google My Business profile are extremely important, because whenever you have your keyword research that's put together, you want to make sure that this tailored content um, is specific to your audience and what they search. Because if you're putting content out there that's not tailored to your audience, then you're not going to get that much organic traffic, i.e., leads to your website to go ahead and get those appointments booking. With that said, Google My Business is linked to Google Maps. So you want to make sure you optimize this for its maximum local search exposure, i.e., when someone does a search for your TMS, ketamine clinic, and if it's not optimized within X mile radius, there's a chance that you might not be exposed on here. And the other one that goes most important with that Google My Business is the reviews. Um,
Hmm.
that boosts your credibility across online. Someone does a search, you have those reviews that are on there through Google. The more reviews and the better reviews that you have, it also is connected to your website in a form of it being trusted. Um, Same thing when those users go ahead and give you the feedback that are on the website or that are coming through your Google My Business profile to your practice. It's also important to go ahead and answer those reviews in a quick format, because Google also sees this as well. Um, One of the biggest things, as you probably know, Dr. K, right now is navigating regulations with compliance. This also goes ahead and affects the SEO community within um, our immediate area online, of the different types of clinics that are putting
Right.
out different types of ketamine ads, on down to it being even blogs to the point where they're not showing. Um, so the
Well,
healthcare providers really must adhere to the HIPAA regulations, ensure the privacy, strict advertising guidelines. As I said, right now it's really
100%.
almost like a Wild West.
I wanted to use that term as well because it's really what it feels like. And just to interject for a moment, I compare this to what healthcare providers have done in the past when it comes to off-label treatments, right? Ketamine is an off-label treatment for depression. But if you look at other healthcare specialties, we use medications like metoprolol or propanolol for anxiety off-label, but we don't have to market that. A provider can provide that without having it marketed. This is a bit
Sure,
different, right? We have something that's an off-label benefit, but because it's not necessarily used primarily for depression in terms of the precedence for depression treatment, there's not enough
sure,
awareness out there. So we actually have to market something that's off-label. And on top of that, have this regulatory and compliance concern that comes in. And that's why legit script certifications, which we are essentially partnering with them to provide an expedited process for
yeah,
our clients, in addition to other things that we do on the digital side, are all geared towards making sure that this is something that we don't have any issues with when it comes to our clients. Question for you though, Damien, from
sure.
your perspective, do you feel that the regulatory process for mental health providers that offer TMS, psychedelics, ketamine treatments, do you feel that that's going to loosen up as we go forward with FDA approvals that come about? Because we are on the verge of FDA clearances and approvals and insurance coverage, maybe a couple of years out. Would
Sure.
that help essentially with what we're doing on the SEO side of things?
I think in the end, I don't think it will help on the side of SEO things with all these algorithm updates that are actually really happening.
Okay.
Um, the sites like Legit Script really add to that layer
Mm,
of trust value. Um, this algorithm update that actually just passed goes ahead and eliminates a lot of these black market ketamine sites that are out there, and that's one of the biggest things
well,
that unfortunately some of our clinics are facing to be up against in an
yeah.
SEO value. So yes, it's great that these algorithms updated. However, that's what also comes ahead with all this new regulatory concerns.
Gotcha. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure thing. Which of the following is not a principle of SEO for mental health providers? I will give you a few moments here to take a look at these answers, and we will review.
I have a feeling looking at the attendees that all you guys know the answers to this question, or the answer to this question. And I would likely choose the answer as well to be something that I would do. I've been told I'm not supposed to do. So I get it.
So with that said, which of the following is not a principle? Using highly technical medical jargon in content. The reason why is because your users and the intent for them to find you, they're not going to know what a lot of this jargon is. So with that said, you want to keep your content simple in the aspect that it makes Google happy and it's original content, but also with the intent of your users to find you. When you write this content, they're not going to know the medical jargon, if you will, to do searches for that. So it's really important to keep it that way, keep it simple within the content that you put out on an SEO level.
Well, so Damien, there's something that I have a little bit of a we'll play devil's advocate here with that. So I totally agree with you that that's something that makes sense from what I've seen work. But let's say you're a provider who wants to be educational and informative on your website. Is it possible to have the simple jargon and the medical jargon for those that are looking for that type of context? Now, I'm not saying most users or patients are searching neuroplasticity. I totally agree with that.
Sure.
But because it's a very nuanced, it's a trendy word these days, right? But it's not necessarily something
Sure.
that a patient will look for. But say a practice is talking about the increased neuroplastic effect of TMS and ketamine and how we're increasing something like brain-derived neurotropic factor, I think adds a bit of credibility and validity to that provider. Is that something you
Sure.
would advise against, or say you can do that with the simple jargon, which is we want to have the simple Google preferred type of content as well? Can you do both, is what I'm asking.
Yeah, you definitely can do both. Within that said, the best way to maybe go about that is just to really contextually put it out there, and say,
Okay.
this content that you are reading uh, could be from X, Y, and Z. So that way the
Gotcha.
users that go to that, they know it could be that medical jargon, if you will. The other thing is you could also put it there in the aspect of an FAQ. So if someone's looking for that specific thing within their area, for neuroplasticity, they can do that and do a search if they're in Phoenix, Arizona, and it could be a chance that your clinic could go ahead and be there, up there for it. So yes, it's
Yeah,
definitely advice, but also you just want to keep it sure that the intent is that your users are going to go ahead and search for X, Y, and Z service or
gotcha.
different types of product that you may offer.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Makes sense.
With that said, marketing TMS, understanding transcranial magnetic stimulation is a non-invasive treatment for depression and other mental health conditions. SEO can help reach those patients searching for innovative treatments. Targeted SEO approaches utilize specific keywords related to TMS treatments and benefits. How this is important, why this is important, I will share again at the end of this webinar, within the aspect of organic ranking. And right now, as I said, within these algorithm updates that happened, it's extremely important that you develop all of your content within the aspect of it's educational. And the intent is to inform the users that are coming to your website for the first time to really learn about what you have to offer. Um, Within that said, there's a lot of different information that's going out there online, and you want to make sure that it's written in the aspect that it could be for someone within the college to high school level, as Google actually goes ahead and picks up things like this. So it's really important to have, when you're marketing for TMS, to have this information set up like that. Also, which is really on the radar now, especially considering the nature of the beast within these algorithm updates. And specifically, it's a spam update, which Google went ahead and passed. Marketing for ketamine treatments right now is a little tough. The overview, ketamine is used for treating severe depression and other mental health disorders. Effective online visibility is crucial for reaching those potential patients, i.e., or going back full circle, organic SEO is where it really hits there. SEO keywords for ketamine, focus those keywords for the potential patients that you're trying to look for with the intent, ketamine therapy, ketamine clinics near me, ketamine therapy in Phoenix, Arizona, ketamine therapy in New York City. These key phrases are really important when it comes down to your SEO strategy. Even more so, your content marketing for ketamine is really important because now there has to be some legitimacy to what type of content you're putting out there, as Google wants to make sure that you're not trying to put blackout market material out there for trying to sell ketamine products. And not saying that your website may do this, however, Google has it on the radar, and it's making it a really tough time to put ads out there and also to rank within this ketamine keyword. And it's really important right now to just make sure that your content is completely together and on the radar within it's legit. If you have any sourcing within that content that you put it in there, because Google's really going to connect the dots on this original material that you'll be creating. With that said, the impact of social media on SEO right now is huge also. And brand awareness, it's one of the biggest points for brand awareness is to have your clinics on those actual social media platforms for twofold. One, for social media exposure, but two, Google, Bing, Yahoo, all the search engines love your Twitter posts, love your LinkedIn posts, love your Facebook posts, in the aspect that they start to crawl those posts online. So it also increases the chance of getting some of those bookings going in and getting more leads as your social media go ahead and can also be another lead gen source.
What do you
And it's
mean
also,
by what do you mean by crawl?
sure. So when you put a Twitter post out there, when you put a LinkedIn or Facebook post, what Google does is takes that information from that link of that post and actually crawls it to be found within the search engines.
Mm.
So you put that post up on Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn about your TMS or your ketamine service, it increases the chances of exposure online within the search engines. Um, Also, one of the important factors for SEO is the engagement of that information. If there's a lot of engagement with it, Google goes ahead and sees this as well and also starts leveraging that information up, i.e., if you have a trending blog or it's trending on any type of social media platform, that also gets radiated backwards to your website within that trust factor. Now, a lot more folks are trusting your website, and it's also falls within that factor of social listening because now you actually have different types of channels organically that your SEO can be coming through. And it's also important to get those backlinks set ahead through your social media sites, because again, it starts building a trust authority for your actual website.
Gotcha.
With that said, it's the quality of backlinks, which is extremely important. You don't want to join with people that could hurt your website. If you join a website like, for example, LinkedIn, and you put your website on there, it's a good connecting domain authority. When you dot your I's and cross your T's with this, it's just like an actual spider web if you see it, and all those links from your social media platform connecting inwards to your website, start indexing outwards on the search engines to really give you some ranking. And then it starts really giving you visibility through distribution of all of those social media platforms online for indexing that content. That's one of the biggest examples for backlinking strategies, because now you have all those backlinks connecting to your website, and it starts bringing up your website's credibility and safety for the users that are going to it, i.e., Google starts ranking your website accordingly. And this is really important now because Google's, the update that just passed, the few updates that just passed, is really saying, hey, is this website trusting? Yes, then rank it. With that said, what should the content strategy for marketing ketamine treatments primarily focus on? And we'll give you a few moments on this one.
Good question. If you want to throw your answer in the chat box, you can. I'm so glad you talked about social media, Damon, because I think it's so undervalued. It's not just about the initial impressions you get online and followers and likes. It's really an SEO tool. I didn't realize how valuable it is. I knew it was, but this is just putting a bigger context behind how important it is. So
it really is. And with that said, informative content about the benefits and procedures. Now,
cool.
Why this informative content is important, Google goes ahead and digests this and then relays it back within the ranking of your website. So the best original content that you have put out there, the better. If your content is taken through any chat GPTs or any of these AI type tools, and you don't put it through any type of, let's just say, humanizing platform, Google actually knows that it's AI written content, and your website's really not going to rank as much. So it's really important for this content for it to be original. With that said, we have some case studies and also some information to share. I have some links within our clients and the ranking as far as the different types of information that we apply to our SEO strategy. The next slide that's I will actually share will actually go through and list all the different types of SEO used and applied for our clients, and also show how that ranking is. Okay, so for example here, this will show us where one of our clients are listed here, and it's Soul Psychedelic Systems. And as you can see here, they're located in Bend, Oregon. And with that said, the content and information is all optimized for it to be ahead of all of these other clinics and different types of websites that solely promote ketamine-assisted psychotherapy, and this also keyword that is used. With that said, one of the next keywords, and excuse me while I go through the slide here, it's just how I actually open this up. The next one is for ketamine-assisted treatment in Boulder, Colorado. As you can see here, this is also one of the keywords that are used for one of our clients. And as you can see here, our client is right here within the 4th spot. And the tidbit about this one is they're also one of our newer clients that have been on the radar. So what that means is from launch, the actual website itself in its entirety went ahead and took on its local SEO presence within these keywords of ketamine assisted treatment in Boulder, Colorado. And then one of the other things that you can see here is that it takes on the title of the actual post itself, and or if it's the home page. Why is this important? So if any users go ahead and do a search for the actual website itself, as they go to the actual website, they're going to go ahead and come across one of these Google Maps. And if it's not optimized towards the Google Maps, there's going to be a chance that they're not going to be found. So, for example, here, I went ahead and optimized this specific page for immune boost therapy within the Tarzana, California area. And when you go ahead and do a search for it here, you can also see that they're number one within the listings here, above pretty decent amount of clients. And then one of the most important things is that this is with the intent for the users within this specific area, which happens to be close within the Los Angeles market. Now, why is this all important within the SEO realm? Each one of these websites is orchestrated to where their content is put together with all the different types of keywords, the H1 tags on down, and that's really what gives them that ranking factor and why it's important. Now, if you don't have your website properly orchestrated like this is going to be one of the major factors now as far as the different types of ranking that your website may achieve. Now, I have one more example here, and it's actually an interesting one because this, you can actually see how it's placed on the top, but also how it's really the title across the board takes in for the whole therapy. Now, this is important once again because when Google goes ahead and does a search of your website, and with the user's intent for them to do a search for any type of mental wellness, i.e., ketamine assisted psychotherapy, they're number one within their area for here. Within that said, it's really important for your local SEO strategy to be relying on those keywords for it to be the ranking factor, and for you also to do a search and to understand what those keywords are in order for you to rank properly. With that said, go ahead and thank you for your time and attention for this webinar and for everyone that attend. And I thank you, Dr. K, for letting me present this SEO information for everyone to share.
I appreciate it. And we're not done yet. We still have some things to talk about. So I appreciate it. But thank you, Damien, and thank you for all of our participants and attendees and panelists today. We do have a question from Tiffany. Tiffany, great to hear from you. The question we have from Tiffany is, what about using Canva to create content? Is that still going to be considered original?
Any type of, and very good question, Tiffany, by the way. Majority of the AI tools that are out there, whether it be Canva, a GBT, for that matter, they all take their information from online. So, i.e., they source it from Google, Bing, and Yahoo. So majority of that content that you get from there isn't even original. So with that said, yes, it can be used. However, you want to put it through something like a Grammarly, just to make sure that it's original content and check for plagiarism.
Gotcha. Okay. Question I have for you, Damien, is how do we measure SEO progress as a client? Now, if like we wanted to know, obviously, you as the expert, what you're looking for when you see a client that onboards with us and they come on and you see that they're having some really low performance on SEO rankings. So we do the magic that we do. How does a client measure that progress on their end without having to talk to us? Let's just say they wanted to do a little bit of a self-analysis.
Sure thing. One of the best things that, as we provide in-house is that dashboard.
Mm,
The dashboards that we have, considering that we use Move in-house, is important for our clients because it's a quick takeaway for them to see the data, whether it be the keywords or how the website is also ranking at a quick clip. Because as you know, SEO is changing on a daily. So it's really important to just go ahead and take a look at those metrics and analytics at your website. Not going to say as much as possible, but for you to really understand what's going on with the journey of your users to the website.
sure, sure. Okay. That makes sense. So using the dashboard, we have metrics, we have a tool essentially to really do that. Gotcha. Um, in terms of, SEO with TMS versus SEO with ketamine, what have you seen as far as maybe an industry trend? Do you find that you've had much more of a, and I would assume you would, but the process to do SEO deliverables or provide SEO deliverables for TMS clients versus ketamine clients, have you seen something specific that tells us, hey, this is something that, this industry's got more of a precedence in as far as SEO goes?
Sure, great question too. Again, just really up against what Google's releasing with these algorithm updates, because TMS itself really isn't necessarily something that can go into the black market. And it's up
Mm,
against ketamine and all these other types of illegal sites that could be up there. It really makes a challenge to have some ketamine content rank, because what Google's doing is they're either thinking that your website could be one of these black market websites and it's not legit, hence legit scripts.
mm,
Um, and also, it's the content that your website could be producing. If
sure.
it sees your content as it being spammy or maybe too wordy within the aspect of it looking on the black market side, there's actual chance that your website could lose its domain authority and even be delisted. So right now,
Okay.
it's a lot harder within the ketamine space to have website content ranking versus TMS.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions you'd like to ask? And thank you for that, Damon. Any other questions you want to throw into our Q&A box? Feel free to do so. I'm going to keep throwing some questions at Damon that pop up in my head from a client's perspective. Another question I had, does it impact a business's ability to maximize their SEO efforts if their domain hosting is done with a large company like GoDaddy, or is it something that may be more beneficial to do with, say, not just beyond marketing, but somebody maybe individually or a smaller organization? Is that something that you've seen in your space?
Sure thing. Again, within, my background is, now being that 26-year SEO, it also uh, dually, I'm a web developer. So within that sense, I also know what it makes for the proper hosting of a website.
Mm,
So one of the biggest things, excuse me, that's important now is if your website is hosted and if your practice is within the United States, that you want your hosting to be within the United States.
mm,
Why this is important? Because if you have your website hosted within Deutschland, or if you have it hosted in France or in the UK, Google actually knows this. And then you start listing within those search engines because that's how your IP address is picked up. So
ah,
it's really important.
interesting. That's good to know. And we have had some clients, I believe, with that issue in the past. So that's good to know. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Sure
Um,
thing. And I see actually one more question here. It's is there any benefit for paying for backlinks? Um, with that said, I don't believe there's any benefit actually for paying for actual backlinks. The reason why is because the more organically they happen, i.e., you reaching out to whichever site you want to go ahead and be linked on, that works tenfold versus the link wheels. And when you pay for different types of backlinks, there's a chance that those backlink websites that are used are going to have very low domain authority, and it can actually hurt your website versus help it.
Great. Great question, Chris. Thank you for asking that, and great to see you here. Um, Interestingly enough, another question, popped up in my head as far as, SEO, these discussions that we're talking about with backlinks and whatnot. Let's talk about blogs for a moment. Because I remember in my practice days, our blog page was full of some great content and also had a lot of fluff, right? There were things that were like really informative, helpful for our patients to read up on and look at. And the group that I was working with at the time would also just put some random, you can tell it was generated by some sort of AI tool or something of that nature, but it was there for a reason. And I was told it was just for these backlinks and to maximize SEO visibility. Are blogs something that you've seen a lot of traffic directly for, as far as patients actually looking up a practice's blogs and reading them? And that's something that we commonly see, because I can tell you that this is just me throwing this out there. I think we've all thought about this. Do patients actually read the blogs? And I don't really feel they do. So I feel like it's more of a benefit for SEO. So what are your thoughts on that? What blogs mean for a practice's website and how it impacts the SEO deliverables?
Sure. No, blogs are really important. One is because it sends the search signals to the search engines that say that your website isn't remaining dormant, i.e. for content.
Nice. Okay.
Every week, month, the more that you put out that content, it sends the signal out to the search engines to also say that your website is a source or a credit where this information comes from. And that's really important in the aspect of really building up your website for it being a trusted source. So when you're putting these blogs out and within the original content form that is being created, the search engines go ahead and see this and reward you with good ranking. And then, i.e., if that blog is getting good traffic with a good ranking, in the end, it's going to start bringing you, hopefully, some leads coming through, as we have seen with a pretty decent amount of our clients. Because one of the good things you can do is put a blog out there, and real time through Google Analytics, you can see if folks are reading it. So it really shows the effectiveness of how the blog can also be found. One of the other intents too is formulating that blog within the content for your local market. So if you have a ketamine or TMS clinic within the New York City, Phoenix, or Los Angeles market, or even more of a sub area within one of those, let's just say a metro area, and you formulate those blog within the keywords, it's really going to start honing in on that traffic that could go ahead and be pushed forth to the different clinics for the actual patients that could be searching for them.
That's very interesting. And I appreciate that answer, because it does, provide more clarity on the fact that, yes, blogs are actually read by patients. A lot of misconceptions that we've had on the practice side is it's just there for SEO. And yes, there's a purpose there, but it does make sure that we're not staying dormant, that there is visibility, that it does provide a sense of credibility, because sometimes we write in a blog could be the national question that's asked about a treatment, and our website ranks there because we have a really in-depth answer about that specific keyword or question being asked. Because I've seen that happen with some clients and colleagues, and it's something that's definitely worth thinking about. One last question I have for you. If anybody else has any questions, feel free to throw them in here. Is SEO any different? And you may have already answered this in during the slide deck, but just curious to know, is SEO any different if somebody's marketing, say, mental health services in rural Oklahoma versus, Los Angeles or Chicago? Like, is there a noticeable difference in how difficult or how easy
Great question.
it is?
Great
Yeah.
question. Especially considering on the content created. When you do a search for ketamine treatment in Los Angeles, let's just say, for example, the results might be in the 21 million, as because of all the content that could be possibly out there.
Right.
Whereas someone goes ahead and does a search for ketamine treatment in Oklahoma, or in another type of state or city where the population could be less, um, there's going to be less of a chance that on an SEO perspective, there's going to be a lot of competition out there. So
Right.
in the end of the day, it really comes down to that content that are within these larger cities or areas, that it's really important for it to be orchestrated in the aspect of you do your homework and reverse engineer against your competition.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Thank you for that answer. Wow. I feel like somewhat of an SEO expert now. Not really, but but I feel like my understanding of this is so much more nuanced and a solid foundation about what this really means, because it's really important. And these deliverables and these variables with SEO really impact the awareness and education that patients get to mental health treatments. TMS is phenomenal. Saint um, is the Saint Theta Burst protocol. Yesterday was some great news in Magnus Medical. There's, the Spravato indications, and ketamine is on the back burner for FDA draft guidelines. We have MDMA assisted psychotherapy. So the
Sure.
SEO, portion of how we market these services are extremely important, and we have to make sure we take the right steps. So this was extremely valuable. Damon, I can't thank you enough for doing this. And for our guests today, thank you for being here. Really appreciate you
Yes.
guys.
Thank you, everyone, for attending.
Yes, it's honestly really cool to see the interaction and honestly the curiosity behind this. We do have a SEO guide that we can provide you, a strategy beyond a marketing PDF that we can share with you. Just shoot me an email if you guys would like that, or reach out to client success at support@beyondmarketing.net, and they'll be happy to share that with you. For those of you interested in talking to Damien more, let us know. We're happy to send some questions his way. He's a wealth of knowledge. And next week we have another webinar in store for you guys. It's a group call, Beyond Town Hall, if you will, as well, to talk about how to navigate the volatile market of ketamine and how to be successful in it. So we're going to talk more about that next week, and we'll talk a little bit of SEO as well. Again, thank you, Damien. Appreciate you very much,
Welcome.
and thank you everybody for being here.